Ladies and gentlemen, we live in an age that seeks comfort above all things. We are told that happiness lies in ease, in security, in a life free from hardship. But this is a lie. True joy, deep, abiding joy, is not found in the absence of struggle, but in embracing it. Imagine for a moment a knight who refuses to fight, a student who refuses to learn, or a musician who refuses to practice. What becomes of them? The knight grows soft, the student remains ignorant, and the musician's hands forget their skill. It is not ease that shapes us, but effort. It is not peace that makes us strong, but perseverance. We often cry out, "Why must life be so hard?" as though difficulty were a mistake, an error in the design of the world. But I tell you, struggle is not a curse. It is a gift. It is the furnace in which strength is forged, the storm that drives our roots deeper, the mountain that lifts us higher. Consider the seed buried in the earth. If it could speak, it might cry out against the darkness, the weight of the soil, the breaking of its own shell. But without these things there is no tree. So it is with us. The trials we face are not obstacles in our path. They are the path. So let us not merely endure struggle, but enjoy it. This is not the enjoyment of ease, nor the shallow laughter of comfort, but the fierce joy of the warrior who relishes the fight, the runner who delights in the burn of his muscles, the artist who loves the challenge of the blank canvas. And when we reach the end of our days, let it not be said that we avoided hardship, but that we met it boldly, that we fought well, suffered well, and grew strong in the fire. That we learned to love the struggle not because it was easy, but because it made us into something greater. We are conditioned from childhood to believe that comfort is the highest good, the thing we should seek above all else. Every innovation, every advancement, every piece of advice seems aimed at making life easier, reducing effort, and sparing us from difficulty. We soften our beds, speed up our meals, and eliminate the need to wait for anything. We imagine that happiness is found in avoiding hardship, and so we pursue a life as free from struggle as possible. But in doing so, we rob ourselves of something essential. We do not truly live. We simply exist. Comfort is a pleasant thing, but it is not the thing that makes life meaningful. A man who spends his days in perfect ease, without effort or challenge, does not experience joy, but stagnation. His mind, having no need to stretch, grows dull. His body, having no need to toil, grows weak. His spirit, having no need to endure, remains fragile. He may not feel the sharp pains of struggle, but he will feel something far worse, the slow decay of a life without purpose. There is a kind of rest that is good, a kind of peace that is necessary. But peace is only sweet when it follows toil, just as water is never so refreshing as when one is parched. Without struggle, even comfort itself loses its savor. A man who does not work does not truly rest, he merely drifts. A man who has never faced hardship does not truly enjoy ease, he merely avoids suffering. It is only in contrast to effort that comfort has any meaning at all. Imagine an athlete who never pushes himself, a student who never challenges her mind, an artist who never dares to create something difficult. What becomes of them? The athlete remains weak, the student remains ignorant, and the artist never improves. The very act of striving, of reaching beyond what is easy, is what shapes them into something greater. We do not admire those who have had everything handed to them, but those who have fought, who have endured, who have struggled and emerged stronger. We love the stories of those who overcame, but we shrink from the thought of overcoming anything ourselves. We often believe that if we could only eliminate all struggle from our lives, we would be happy. But have you ever noticed that the times you have felt most alive were often the times of greatest challenge? There is a kind of satisfaction that comes from labor, from perseverance, from pressing on even when every fiber of your being wants to stop. The hiker reaching the peak, the writer finishing the final page, the craftsman perfecting his work. All of them feel a joy that could never come from comfort alone. We resist struggle at every turn. We long for an easy road, but an easy road leads nowhere worth going. We wish for a life free from hardship, but hardship is the very thing that strengthens us. We spend so much time trying to escape discomfort that we forget discomfort is what makes us grow. We think we are doing ourselves a favor by seeking a life of ease, but in reality we are trading the rich, full experience of living for something shallow and empty. Consider a tree growing in a sheltered greenhouse, where no wind ever shakes it, where no storm ever bends its branches. It grows, yes, but weakly. Its roots do not dig deep, its trunk does not strengthen, and when at last it is planted outside, the first strong wind topples it. Now consider the tree that grows in the wild, battered by storms, its roots forced deep into the earth for stability. That tree is strong, not despite the struggle, but because of it. So it is with us. Comfort is a fine thing, but it is not the goal. It is a place to rest, but not a place to remain. If we make it our purpose, we will find that we have built our lives on something fragile, something that cannot sustain us when real trials come. Instead of chasing comfort, we must chase strength, growth, and meaning. And those things can only be found on the other side of struggle. Effort is the great sculptor of the human soul, chiseling away weakness, smoothing rough edges, and carving out the depth of our character. It is the force that takes us from what we are to what we could be. Without effort, there is no growth, no mastery, no true accomplishment. We are not born into this world as finished beings, fully formed and prepared for greatness. We are raw material, and only through work, through struggle, through persistence, do we become something more. It is a strange thing that we admire those who have achieved great things, yet we resist the very process that made them great. We marvel at the poet whose words stir the heart, the musician whose melodies linger in the soul, the leader whose wisdom guides nations. But behind each of these achievements is a lifetime of effort. The poet spent years refining language, discarding weak phrases, and laboring over syllables that others skim in seconds. The musician endured countless hours of practice, fingers stiff, mind exhausted, replaying the same notes over and over until perfection emerged from repetition. The leader bore the weight of decisions, learned from mistakes, and sharpened his mind through trial after trial. None of them woke up one day possessing greatness. They shaped themselves through effort, through a process that often felt more like struggle than triumph. Effort is not merely the means by which we reach a goal, it is the very thing that changes us in the process. A man who sets out to climb a mountain does not return the same man who began the journey. The climb reshapes him, forcing him to find strength he did not know he had, discipline he had never before exercised, and endurance that surprises even himself. The goal, the peak, is only one part of the experience. The true transformation happens in the climb, in the burning of muscles, the deepening of will, the overcoming of obstacles that would have turned him back if not for sheer determination. We live in a world that tries to bypass effort. We seek shortcuts to knowledge, fitness, and success, hoping to achieve without enduring the labor that achievement requires. But anything gained without effort is hollow. A man given wealth without earning it finds no satisfaction in riches. A student handed a degree without studying knows he has learned nothing. A victory won without a battle carries no joy. Effort is what gives meaning to the reward. It is the struggle that makes success taste sweet, the long road that makes the destination worthwhile. Consider the craftsman at his workbench, shaping wood or metal with steady hands. His skill is not the result of mere talent, but of effort, years of mistakes, corrections, improvements. The first time he tried, his hands fumbled, his measurements were wrong, his creation was imperfect, but he did not stop. With each attempt, he became better, his work more refined, his hands more skilled. The effort was not separate from his success, it was the very thing that made success possible. We are often tempted to despise effort. We groan at the weight of responsibility, shrink from the demands of discipline, and look enviously at those who seem to have an easier path. But the truth is, an easy life is not a fulfilled life. Ease does not shape us, comfort does not challenge us. It is effort that takes us beyond ourselves, beyond our present limitations, and into a place of real strength. Every difficulty overcome, every challenge faced, every moment of perseverance adds something to us that cannot be gained in any other way. A blade is not sharpened by being left untouched, it is honed through friction, through resistance, through the grind of metal against stone. A body does not grow strong by lying still. It is strengthened through exertion, through the strain of muscles pushing against their limits. A mind does not become wise by avoiding hard thinking. It is sharpened through questioning, through wrestling with ideas, through the struggle of learning. So it is with us. Every effort we make is forming us, whether we see it in the moment or not. The hours spent in study, the discipline of waking early, the persistence of trying again after failure, these are the invisible forces that shape who we become. We may not notice the change day by day, but in time we will look back and see that we are not the same as we once were. The effort has shaped us, just as fire refines gold, just as the storm strengthens the tree, just as the climb transforms the climber. Struggle is not a flaw in the design of life, nor is it a punishment to be avoided. It is a necessary part of existence, woven into the very fabric of growth, strength, and meaning. And yet, we often treat struggle as though it were an error, something to be fixed, removed, or bypassed as quickly as possible. We ask why difficulties arise, why pain exists, why obstacles stand in our way, as though their presence were an unfortunate accident rather than an essential part of what it means to live. But what if struggle is not the enemy? What if it is, in fact, the very thing that makes us who we are? It is a common thought that if life were fair, if things were as they should be, then everything would come easily. We imagine a world where progress is smooth, where success arrives without effort, where happiness flows effortlessly. But if such a world existed, it would not be a paradise. It would be a place of stagnation. Nothing strong is formed without resistance. No great thing has ever been accomplished without hardship. A life without struggle is a life without depth, without challenge, without the satisfaction of overcoming. Look at the natural world and you will see this truth played out again and again. The bird must struggle to break free from the egg. The tree must fight its way upward against wind and gravity. The river must carve through rock over centuries to create something beautiful. At no point is struggle an error in these processes. It is the process itself. The bird's wings gain strength through their effort. The tree's roots dig deeper because of the resistance they face. And the river's beauty is shaped by the obstacles it overcomes. So it is with us. The struggles we face are not detours from the path. They are the path. We spend so much time trying to rid ourselves of struggle. We long for comfort, for ease, for a life free from difficulty. But comfort alone cannot shape us. A person who has never faced hardship has never been tested, never been refined, never truly known what they are capable of. Strength is not something that can be given, it must be built. And it is built through the very struggles we seek to avoid. Consider the stories that inspire us. The hero who never struggles is no hero at all, but merely a figure who drifts through life unchanged. The tales we remember, the lives we admire, are always those of people who endured, who fought, who pressed forward, even when every circumstance was against them. Their struggles were not mistakes. They were the very things that made them into something greater. We do not love them despite their hardships. We love them because they overcame them. It is easy to believe that our own struggles are different, that they are unnecessary burdens, that life should not be this hard. But hardship has never been a sign that something has gone wrong. It is a sign that we are alive, that we are moving, that we are becoming. If life were meant to be easy, we would be weak creatures, incapable of greatness, incapable of depth. The weight we carry is what gives us strength. The mountains we climb are what allow us to see further. The challenges we endure are what carve us into something more than we were before. Pain and difficulty are not pleasant, but they are not pointless. They do something to us that nothing else can do. They expose our weaknesses so that we may strengthen them. They reveal our limits so that we may push past them. They strip away the illusion of control and teach us patience, endurance, and resilience. They remind us that we are not meant to drift through life untouched, but to engage fully, to struggle, to fight, and in doing so to grow. There is a temptation to wait for life to become easier before we begin to truly live. We tell ourselves that once the struggle is over, then we will have peace, then we will find joy. Then we will finally be happy. But life is not waiting beyond the struggle. Life is happening within it. It is in the perseverance, in the endurance, in the choice to keep moving forward despite difficulty, that we find the richness of existence. The struggle is not a mistake. It is the refining fire that makes us into who we are meant to be. A seed buried in the soil might seem lost, trapped beneath the weight of the earth, swallowed by darkness. If it had consciousness, it might protest its circumstances, wondering why it must endure such a trial. From the outside, there is no immediate sign of growth, no movement, no life, only silence and stillness. And yet something is happening beneath the surface. The seed is not buried to be forgotten. It is buried so that it might take root. What feels like an ending is, in reality, a beginning. Adversity is the soil in which we are planted. Without it, we remain as we are, never breaking through, never stretching upward, never becoming more than a dormant possibility. It is only when pressure is applied, when we are forced to push against resistance, that we discover what we are capable of. Growth is not comfortable. It is a process of breaking, stretching, and reaching towards something greater. A seed must split open before it can grow. It must send roots downward into the unseen depths before it can rise toward the sky. This is the nature of all growth. It is not a gentle, effortless expansion, but a struggle, a battle against the forces that would keep us small and hidden. Life often places us in circumstances that feel like darkness, as though we have been buried beneath trials too heavy to bear. We feel pressed down, trapped, uncertain of the way forward. But what if these moments are not meant to crush us, but to transform us? What if the weight we feel is not a sign of our defeat, but the very thing that will strengthen our roots? The deeper the roots, the stronger the tree. And strength is not given, it is built, forced into being through adversity, just as the seed must push against the soil to emerge into the light. There is a reason why those who have endured great struggles often possess a depth of wisdom and resilience that others do not. It is not because they were lucky, nor because they were spared hardship, but because they allowed difficulty to shape them rather than destroy them. They did not remain beneath the soil, lamenting their circumstances, but fought their way upward. Their roots ran deep because they had no choice but to endure, and their branches spread wide because they had learned what it meant to struggle and survive. Many people wish for a life free of hardship, imagining that without obstacles they would thrive. But this is a misunderstanding of how growth works. A tree that grows in perfect conditions, sheltered from the wind, given easy access to water and nutrients, does not develop strong roots. It remains shallow, weak, easily uprooted. But a tree that faces storms, that must dig deep to find water, that bends in the wind but does not break, this tree is unshakable. Its strength comes not from ease but from struggle. It stands firm because it has been tested. We too are shaped by what we endure. There is no depth of character without difficulty, no real strength without suffering. Every challenge, every hardship, every moment of adversity is an opportunity to grow. It may not feel like it in the moment. The seed does not immediately see the purpose of being buried, nor does the tree know why the wind batters its branches, but in time both find that their struggles were not in vain. The seed becomes a tree, standing tall, unmovable. The trials that once seemed overwhelming are now the very foundation of its strength. Pleasure is fleeting. It offers a momentary escape, a brief sensation of ease, but it leaves nothing behind. It does not strengthen, it does not shape, it does not elevate. Struggle, on the other hand, is the crucible in which real enjoyment is found. There is a kind of joy that arises only through difficulty, the kind of joy that comes from overcoming something that once seemed impossible. It is the runner who pushes through exhaustion to finish the race, the student who spends hours wrestling with a problem before finally understanding it, the builder who sees his work completed after years of dedication. This is not pleasure in the usual sense. It is something deeper, something richer. It is the kind of enjoyment that lingers long after the moment has passed, the kind that adds meaning to life rather than simply passing through it. To enjoy struggle is not to deny that it is hard. It is not to pretend that pain and effort are the same as comfort and ease. Rather, it is to embrace the fact that the most worthwhile things in life require something of us. The musician does not love the soreness in his fingers after hours of practice, but he loves what that practice produces. The writer does not love the frustration of staring at a blank page, but he loves the feeling of having created something real. The weightlifter does not love the burning of his muscles, but he loves the strength that comes from pushing through it. Enjoyment of struggle is not about avoiding difficulty. It is about recognizing that difficulty itself can be meaningful. This is why people take on challenges voluntarily. It is why the mountain is climbed, why the marathon is run, why the masterpiece is painted. If pleasure were all that mattered, none of these things would be worth doing. It would be far easier to sit still, to indulge in distractions, to avoid anything that requires effort. But there is a restlessness in the human spirit that refuses to be satisfied with mere comfort. There is something in us that longs to be tested, to strive, to push against limits. It is not pleasure we are seeking when we pursue these things. It is something far greater. Struggle brings a kind of joy that pleasure never can, because it transforms us in the process. The mountain changes the climber, the race changes the runner, the effort of creation changes the artist. There is a satisfaction that comes not from the end result alone, but from knowing that one has endured, that one has faced something difficult and not turned away. The enjoyment of struggle is not separate from the pain it brings. It is bound to it, made possible by it. A life without struggle might be pleasant, but it would not be fulfilling. It would be a life of comfort, but not of growth. And deep down we know this to be true. We do not admire those who have never been tested, nor do we remember those who took the easy path. The figures we look up to, the stories that inspire us, are always those of people who struggled, who fought, who endured. Their joy was not found in escaping hardship, but in overcoming it. The enjoyment of struggle is different from pleasure, because it is not about escaping difficulty, but about embracing it as the very thing that makes life meaningful. A life well lived is not one that avoids struggle, but one that meets it with courage. It is not a life spent in constant comfort, free from hardship, untouched by challenge. It is a life that embraces difficulty, not for the sake of suffering, but for the sake of growth, of depth, of purpose. Struggle is not the enemy of a meaningful life. It is the very thing that gives it shape. To live boldly is to recognize that hardship is inevitable and to face it not with fear, but with determination. There is a temptation to seek the easiest path, to build a life that shields us from pain, from effort, from adversity. But such a life, however comfortable, remains small. A person who never struggles never learns their own strength. A mind that is never challenged never deepens in wisdom. A heart that is never tested never truly loves. Struggle forces us to discover what we are capable of. It is the fire that hardens steel, the pressure that forms diamonds. Without it we remain unshaped, unfinished, unaware of what lies within us. The greatest lives, the ones remembered and admired, are never those that were free of struggle. They are those that met struggle with boldness, with a refusal to be broken by difficulty. The warrior who faces battle with unwavering resolve, the artist who wrestles with self-doubt to create something meaningful, the parent who sacrifices daily for their children, the leader who stands firm in the face of adversity. These are the ones whose lives are full, whose existence carries weight. They did not shrink from difficulty, they embraced it as part of the journey. A life well lived is not a life of endless ease. It is a life that has known hardship, that has been tested and proven strong, that has met the trials of existence with courage and come out the other side more fully alive. It is not a life spent hiding from difficulty, but one that steps into it boldly, ready to fight, ready to endure, ready to become something greater through the very struggles that might have seemed like obstacles. To live boldly is to understand that struggle is not what ruins life, it is what gives it meaning.